The Rangers are on the road, although off today, enjoying an off day in Florida. But the longest trip of the season is underway. We talk about that and the success that springboarded them to said trip. Plus, Tony Barnette joins us. Do you remember him? His story is great. And it's coming up next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. We've got lots to talk about with regard to the Rangers, but we will spend part of this off day anyway with Tony Barnette, a guy who was with the Rangers for a couple of years after a very successful career in Japan. In fact, it was Japan that vaulted him into the major leagues. We'll talk to him all about being what they call a baseball gaijin. That is a baseball foreigner. And we'll talk about that with Tony. Coming up later, it's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Me, John Radigan, Jeff Wilson is here. We were both here when Tony was a player here. We'll talk to him in the next segment of the show. The Prophet's here. We'll be glad to have you in the chat and wonder if you have any memories about Tony Barnette's time here. He was with the Rangers that year in 16 when they went back to the American League playoffs, but they had the best record in the American League that year, and he was a part of that team. So anyway, we get to that a little later. First, Jeff, they hit the road for this long road trip, and really, at the end of that Toronto series, I was like, and I think we talked about it on the show, is this the low point of the season? I hope it was. It sure has been better since.
It has, and 11 runs Friday, no runs Saturday.
Yeah.
Eight runs yesterday. I think, there was some life. I think you can believe in the fact that they had hit rock bottom. I mean, we were in there in the clubhouse afterward Wednesday, and they were just kind of defeated, and they all talked though. If they were there and you want to talk to them, they were available. Marcus Semien talked, and maybe that's what turned it around. They had the off day at home. He got to spend it with his family. So there was a mental break there. Although he's got 4 kids, so he's probably pretty busy.
Yeah.
But he comes back, and in the 3 games, he went 7 for 8 with 3 walks.
Yeah.
That's spectacular.
Yeah.
He homered. He had a double. And really, down there in the 8th spot in the lineup was getting the lineup turned over and giving the Rangers chances to score runs. And, that's what he did as a leadoff hitter. And I'm not saying he's ready to be the leadoff hitter again yet. Let's take baby steps here. But maybe this is the start. If you recall, first year, I've mentioned a couple times, he didn't hit his first homer until May 28th. Basically, 2 years later, he has this big weekend. Maybe this is the one that gets him going. You certainly hope so. He's over the Mendoza line at 201.
Yeah.
All right. But he raised his average 28 points.
Well, that's the thing. We always say
that
the deeper you get into a season, the harder it is to see substantive, growth or really even, negative growth with your average. But an 875 weekend, Jeff.
Yeah.
His average was 870. That's not his OPS. His average was 875 for the weekend.
Yeah, that'll help.
That'll help boost it back
around.
up over the Mendoza line.
Now, of course, he needs to keep going. It was a nice ending to a pretty lousy May. But this guy's got a lot of pride, and he also still has confidence in himself. He's been a very good major league player for a lot of years, and maybe he's figured something out. And I'm no hitting coach. He was pulling the ball more over the weekend. I mean, that's where his power is. And he hit some balls hard. Obviously, you can't hit it 80 miles per hour to get out of the ballpark. So he did some good things. And this is the time where he can really take off. It's the third month of the season we're entering here, and needs to get going.
Yeah, and he like Corey Seager himself. Marcus Semien can be sort of that leader by example guy, right? He's the guy that they can and will follow. He's got the veteran status. The big contract is a thing. He tries not to let it weigh him down, but it's a thing. It's what other players look at. And, of course, the reason he has those things is because he's been so successful in the past. So these guys will follow him. And actually, as we've said many times, following either one of them with regard to how they prepare day in and day out, Jeff, is a good thing because they are as consistent and as good at getting ready for games as anybody I've ever seen.
Marcus doesn't take days off. Even on the rare exception when he's not in the lineup, he still goes out there and takes his ground balls and gets ready as if he's playing a game. Maybe for the betterment of his health in the future, maybe Marcus could back off a little bit and have an off day be an off day. Whatever, they don't want to mess with his routine. But I thought that Friday night when he hit the home run, they panned to the dugout. We on the press box, we don't see the dugout, the faces. They were all happy. They're all thrilled for Marcus Semien. They know it's been a struggle. They want their guy, their leader, their veteran to enjoy some success. I mean, he's hasn't had it at all. And he's had to take some flack from media and fans and and when you're batting 173, it's hard to say that anybody's wrong.
Right.
But this 7-for-8 weekend with the 3 walks, he still leads the team in walks.
Yep.
Nothing but positives there.
Nothing but the hope for positives with regard to the other guy who has been struggling. In fact, Adolis Garcia has been struggling so mightily that the Rangers took a drastic step, Jeff, the likes of which I have not seen. And I meant to ask Boach this, and I didn't get a chance. Has he ever utilized this method to attempting to get a guy going? But we're talking 5 straight days off for Adolis Garcia, where he has been asked to work on things, specific things about his swing, designed to get him back to the player that he was in 23. And we don't know, Jeff, that 5 is it, right? We don't know that he'll be back. We have not been made aware of yet a re-entry plan for Adolis Garcia.
Yeah, it's safe to say that Bruce Bochy's calling it a mental break. He's been benched, right?
Yeah.
Adolis Garcia has been benched. It may just be 4 of the 3 games that he's missed, and then sandwiching that series is 2 off days, the last of which today. Then they start fresh tomorrow in Tampa. And, Evan Carter's supposed to come off the injured list tomorrow. And so that's going to give the Rangers some outfielders who they really like. Wyatt Langford, obviously. Evan Carter. And it's hard to not like Alejandro Osuna.
Well, I'll tell you what.
He's reached base in all 7 of his games. He takes walks. And he hasn't hit the ball with a ton of authority yet. I guess that's the only thing missing. But, he'll run the bases like a madman. Terrific defensive player. So, he's the hot hand, right? Adolis Garcia is not the hot hand. Now, if Adolis has been working and they feel like this thing is better, they've got to give him a chance to get results, like a test flight.
Yeah.
Go out there and let's see it. And in that case, then, unfortunately, it probably is Osuna who sits. But it's going to be a tough decision. But Chris Young said it yesterday. The lineup will be based on performance. It's a performance-driven industry, and right now he is not performing. I mean, his average is slightly above 200, but it's like he's been lost, and the point that I bring up and have mentioned a couple times, he should know by now how pitchers are trying to get him out.
Right.
Fastballs above the zone and sliders away.
Yep.
And I'm not in the box, and I've never been, so I don't know how easy or hard it is to lay off these pitches. But if you know what's coming with 2 strikes, if you're down 0-2, they're not gonna throw you a strike.
No.
You're getting a ball, so just take it. Work yourself back into the count. And the pitch recognition is a thing, and that's not a mechanical thing. That's something that you just gotta know and have a feel for. So I don't know how that gets fixed.
Right.
But there are some things, the swing that he had, he worked on it in the offseason with Bobby Witt Jr.'s hitting coach, and last name is Eisenhower, and and he works with Alex Bohm as well, the Phillies first baseman or infielder. And the way it was explained to me at one point was that the stride is shorter, which is evident to see, but the bat path is different. It's kind of more of it doesn't stay in the zone as long, so you're not going to make as much contact. Plus, it produces more backspin. So fly balls that generally might be doubles or home runs get caught because they have so much backspin. So it's as Chris Young explained, he said there are things that we think he can do to get back to the 2023 Adolis when he had the career high in home runs, RBIs, and walks.
Yeah.
Okay, and if he can do that, hey, yeah, he's going to earn playing time. But right now, I don't know.
Let's remember that in that season, his chase rate was in the high 20s. And thus far this season, his chase rate is north of 40%. And chase, Jeff, has nothing to do with Ike Eisenhower there. Whatever. I like Ike. It's got nothing to do with Ike. Chase rate is a decision.
Right.
And a decision is in the brain, and so he's got to make better decisions at the plate, like Craig Ludwig makes. Look at him. He's over here eyeing a damn Bud Light right now. Yeah, he's ready. They're not cold, though, Luds. Those aren't cold. So anyway, you got to make proper decisions. And I, like you said, I've never been in the box, and I realize the time to make that decision is so infinitesimal. But again, he's a major league player. He just needs to be better at making those decisions.
And he has been in the past.
Right. That's why it's doable.
He's never been perfect, right? I mean, this is a guy who entered the season with a career batting average below 300 or 200. I'm sorry, below 250 and an on-base percentage below 300. All right. So he is a flawed player. There's no doubt about it. But when he's right, he's doing those things less and less. So he needs to be able to harness his the temptation that those pitches offer, and to understand that they are not going to throw him for strikes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's the next step for him. Hopefully that will work. And by the way, Tanner had to slide in for the Prophet and didn't miss a beat with the bell and everything. So we appreciate you, Tanner. And, of course, now the Prophet's back. So that's great because we got a big segment coming up. It's the first of 2 that we'll do with Tony Barnette. And we're going to talk lots of things baseball, but the interesting story of Tony's resurgence of his baseball career in Japan and what it feels like to be an outsider in a country. It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Hey, Game Time is our favorite ticketing app. And, with the Stars out of the playoffs, there's one show in town.
Yep.
It's the Texas Rangers. And Game Time, you can get tickets there. They're obviously they're out of town until next weekend. Not this weekend, next weekend. So time to get your tickets.
But it's at the ballpark this weekend.
Shakira?
Stray Kids.
Oh, I don't know them.
I don't either. But they're there. I've heard of the Stray Cats, never the Stray Kids. But they're big, apparently. And they've got a jersey, Stray Kids 25.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, Shakira is also coming to Globe Life Field. Though I got to tell you, she's had some concerts canceled here of late. She had 2 at Fenway canceled and 1 at the Nationals ballpark canceled. So I think there's something that was going on with her set that wasn't up to snuff. So as far as we know, the show is still going on. But Game Time's your place to get them. And if you use the code DLLS, you'll get 20% off your first purchase.
All right, Jeff, you were not on the show yet for the big reveal of the
man.
new Shady Rays, so I got to pop them on again here. How about the new Shady Rays?
You look like a cop.
Huh? That's what I said.
Watch
I said
out.
that as soon as I put them on yesterday.
out.
I go, I might be giving you a ticket on the way home. But I've always been a fan of the Aviators, maybe because I am a fan of law enforcement, and it makes me look tough. You know, I can walk up to your car and act like I got a gun. In any event, I love Shady Rays. They're super fun styles, and I love this style, even if you don't. I do. And I love the way that the polarization works because they block out all those harsh UV rays. They're comfortable. They're almost indestructible, but even if you break them, they've got a warranty. I can't say enough good things about Shady Rays. The first pair we got for free. These were purchased, so I think you know. That's how much I like them. Go to shadyrays.com. DLLS 35% off. All right, this is a fun time for us. Is Tony there, Prophet? We got Tony Barnette. Oh, my goodness. Look at Tony Barnette hanging out with us on this Monday, an off day for the Rangers. And, Tony, we're thrilled to have you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I appreciate the time. Good to see you guys.
Tony, you look very scholarly and kind of all like an adult. You know, the long hair's gone.
Had to return to society. Had to quit trying to trick everybody into thinking that I was something that I wasn't. So had left the game and put my adult pants on.
Yeah. I was going to ask you to turn your head and see if you had a ponytail back there.
Oh no, that would be a terrible look. Oh,
well, yeah, but then again, we've seen terrible looks before.
It'd be very like 80s hippie look, you know?
Yeah, that anyway. Would be bad.
Well, Tony, it's great to see you. And, Aaron, who wrote your book, he reached out to me in December and told me about it. I hadn't heard about it. Aaron Fishman, Baseball Gaijin, Chasing a Dream to Japan and Back. I tell you what, I immediately dove into it, read about 150 pages over Christmas. We were in Colorado. And then when we came home, it got put under some stuff. So I picked it back up. I rediscovered it in spring training and finished it off. And I tell you what, man, if you put the total time of, I bet I knocked it out in 3 days total. I just couldn't put it down. I really enjoyed it. I loved hearing your story. And I learned a lot about baseball in Japan. But anyway, Casey Award nominated book last year, and there are some heavy hitters in there. There's a Pete Rose book. There's a Clayton Kershaw book. How do you told me you're very proud of what the final product was. What feedback have you gotten here over the last several months?
You know, it's to go off of what you've said, I've had some really positive feedback. I really appreciate all the feedback we have gotten. I know I mentioned it in the email. I was kind of terrified of it coming out. Like Aaron and I had conversations, from my end, I was like, who's going to read it? Who's going to care? There are a lot of bigger fish in the sea than, a guy that came to the big leagues and was a middle reliever. And it was almost just kind of like the expectations I had for myself were so high as a ball player coming up that it kind of overshadowed what I really did by going to Japan and making my way back at 32 and having the success that I did have, even if, so many guys, the window's so short. I made the best of my time here. But the feedback has been ultra positive, and I really am proud of it. I really am proud of what Aaron did and what he put together. He really did write a phenomenal book, especially being for a first-time author, and just kind of for him spending so much time and investing so much into it, with real no guarantee of getting anything back from it. So it really was a cool thing to be a part of. I've known Aaron since 2008, and just to see it all come together over a span of almost 20 years, it really is a neat thing to see my my shaggy mug on the front of a hardcover.
Yeah. Well, nowadays we see all of these these TV groups that follow players, follow teams. You guys were like the forerunners of that. What was he following you throughout the course of your time in Japan? How did he gather everything?
It really was. It started in 2008 when I was in AA, and he was in college at UC Davis, and he reached out to a random amount of minor league pitchers that met some statistical guidelines that he was looking at for a college project. I answered back, and we just kind of had a couple conversations, and I was just looking to, I just was free to talk about baseball in any fashion that I could. And I get that's one of my downfalls is not being able to shut up sometimes. But like he just kept following me. And then when I went to Japan, the plot thickened, so to speak, and he just kept doing interviews for more projects that he was doing and more articles. He started covering basketball more, but I was just one of those kind of side projects that he just kept rolling with. And then as my career progressed in Japan over 6 years, success I had there, and then signing with Texas in 2015 and starting there in 2016, once again, we added more meat and potatoes to the story. And by the end of it, he looked at me and said, "Tony, I've got enough here. Your story's fantastic. I'm going to write a book." I was like, "Okay, well, you're crazy. Like, do what you want to do." But in reality, so a lot of interviews, a lot of nights of him and I talking, of rehashing stories, and him digging up the information and just kind of reminding me of things that I've missed. He really did dig in deep to a lot of the stats, a lot of the days. He did a lot of interviews, and I helped him with the networking style of that, of people I'd met in Japan, family, friends, media, teammates, and through all of it, ended up with that book that you guys got sitting on your desk right there. And it really is, in my mind, it's a neat thing for me because on a personal level, my kids were so small when I went through this. Now they just, they tell their teachers, "Well, my dad just watches sports." It's like, well, I did do a little bit more before that. So it is kind of neat for me to have something set in stone that they can, when they're capable of reading it front to back, they'll kind of have a better idea of what I went through and what we went through as a family to reach the spot in which we are now.
Yeah. It's, we hear about players coming from Japan, and we've experienced it because, Yu Darvish was a member of the Rangers. They've had some other players from Japan, and you can kind of tell some of the things that they have to deal with. But you never hear the other side of it. Guys like you, the gaijin, the foreign players who go to Japan and have the same issues. You're an ocean away. You're learning a new language. That's very difficult to learn in the first place. And so I just really thought that, there's obviously a lot of great stuff about baseball, but just the way you had to overcome some stuff to just be able to play and communicate, and the baseball's a little different there. So I just, especially early on, it seemed like that first season, there were some challenges for you.
Yeah. I mean, early on, I think I was still just young and dumb and a little naive to adaptation. But I think my story's there's times I feel like my story's no different than any player that leaves their home country to play in a different country. And I mean, Major League Baseball is draped in Latin America and foreign players from all over the map. And so my story's no different from theirs when they come over and they don't know English and they don't know the cultural aspect of it, and they have to adapt. So by going to Japan and coming back, I did gain a lot more respect for those guys that do come over from Latin America at young ages. And, they learn the language, they learn the cultural differences, and they succeed in droves. So that first year was a struggle for me. I did, I ran into a lot of adversity. And I was fortunate enough after that first year to be invited back by Jac Holt and given that second chance. And that's when things kind of took off for me, as I, had that conversation with the team in spring. They put me in the bullpen, and, the rest is written from there on out. I found myself as a pitcher and continued to mold and continued to develop and have success in Japan, which paved the way for me to have the success to sign with Texas in 2016 and be a part of that bullpen.
Tony, one of the things I wrote to help sort of promote this show was baseball may be America's national pastime, but the same could be said of Japan. Is that overstating it, or is it maybe even a larger part of the fabric of the sports fandom there?
No, you hit the nail on the head. Sumo is the national pastime there, but it's just draped in history and tradition. But if it wasn't for sumo, I think baseball would 100% take the cake. The fandom there is so fantastic. You see it in the WBC now. You see it whenever MLB has that opening series in Tokyo. People are clamoring to get into those games. People are, fighting hand over fist to be a part of the stadium, to be a part of that atmosphere, and to see some of the stars that could come to the United States and that already there. We see the Michael Jackson-esque popularity of Shohei Ohtani, and guys even like Darvish. Before Ohtani, it was Darvish all over the billboards, and it's just the fandom of the Japanese is so much fun. The games are so much fun to be a part of. I can't wait to get back during a summer and be a fan of a Japanese baseball game. I always got the on-field experience, which is, to be a ball player and be able to look into the stands and look on the deck, like you can't beat that. But when it comes to a Japanese baseball game, to get out there with the fans and, all the noisemakers and umbrellas and just being a part of that adventure it's on my bucket list. I can't wait to do it, but obviously in my role right now, I've got to be working during the summer. So I'm trying to find a way to weasel my way into that.
Yeah, you should just say, hey, I've got some players you guys want to look at. I'd really like to present them to you in person.
Right, yeah, and just like bring a AAA guy out, just have him stop from the middle of the season, be like, hey, come with me real quick, and just kind of use that. I don't see that working, but maybe I'll mull it around and throw some things at the wall and see what sticks.
I got an idea. How about a book tour? Do the book tour over there.
Again, we are working on that right now. There is
nice.
Foreign players. There is a foreign players union that's starting up. It's kind of in the infant stages. Whereas there's a group of guys who are trying to do what they can to help guys like myself stay relevant in the game over there, stay relevant with the fan base, and to continue to give back to the fans. Because even if you play 1 year over there, you'll see it on guys' Instagrams and their followers, like, the fans still kind of hold on to them. The fans still welcome them in and miss them, and want them to come back in any facet they can. I mean, I can't speak enough about the Japanese fan base. They really are a welcoming group, and I just love being a part of it still.
Yeah, the change to reliever is what puts you on the path back to the major leagues. But you kept signing these extensions. At what point? Were the Rangers the first team? Was that the first opportunity, or had you flirted with it a little bit previously? Because I don't remember reading that you had.
That year, the 2015 year, was the year it all came together for me. I had brand new eyeballs on me that had never came out, and that weren't there before. Obviously, scouts were in Japan, but not until 2015 did they look at me and say, okay, like, this guy's different. This Tony's different than the guy we've been watching the last 4 or 5 years. Let's give him some serious looks. So Texas wasn't the very first team to reach out that year, but they were the ones I ended up with. The Diamondbacks actually were the very first team. There actually was a deal on the table to sign with Arizona, but in the 11th hour, they pulled out because they had just signed Zach Greinke and gave him everything. They're like, Tony,
that's right. I remember.
Tony, we're gonna need that. We're gonna need that money that we're gonna give you, and we got to pay for Zach's parking spots. So they pulled out, and then that obviously opened up the opportunity for Texas to come in and make they gave me a 2-year deal, and it was, at the time, it was a offer I couldn't refuse.
Of course.
Yeah, lots more coming up with Tony, including what do you do when your child is born in the States and you're in Japan? We get to that and more with Tony Barnette as we continue on the DLLS Rangers podcast. But first, there we go. First, we talk about LinkedIn. Now, Jeff's mentioned before, the wife and I have a small business, and we haven't had to use LinkedIn yet because, frankly, we overpay our employees, and that's not great for the bottom line, but at least we keep them around. But the moment that we do need to, and I think one of our employees, our best one, is talking about moving quite a ways away, so we may lose her. So I promise you, if we do, first stop for us, LinkedIn Jobs. If you go to LinkedIn Jobs, you will find the best candidate you can possibly find. The huge network that LinkedIn has. 5.2 million people have searched for jobs on LinkedIn, and you can avail yourself, your business, to those people, that vast network. Go to LinkedInjobs.com and post your job for free at LinkedIn.com if you use the code Rangers.
Yeah, and John, today wife and I had a conversation. It sounds like she's been talking to Monarch Money.
Yeah,
and we've got a plan. We just realized our kids probably want to go to college.
Come on.
Yeah, it's true.
It's overrated.
So we're making some adjustments. We're going to get them off to finest school that money can buy, or that they can get into, whichever one works. But Monarch Money, they're going to help you help yourself. They are designed to. Their number one job is to make sure that you're living your best life, not just living paycheck to paycheck, getting ready for retirement, and all that good stuff that happens during the course of a life, or sending your kids to college. So if you go to monarchmoney.com, use the code DLLS, you will get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com with the code DLLS.
Yeah, and we welcome Tony Barnette back into the conversation. Tony, we appreciate you spending so much time with us. It's great. I teased it. Your first daughter, Madeline, was born when you were over there. What kind of a whirlwind was that, trying to get back here for an unbelievable event like that?
It was a long day, I'll tell you that. When the moment came, luckily I was with Yakult, and I had proven myself to be a responsible off-season person. So I came into spring training ready to go. And that year I kind of prepared a little bit more to make sure I was a little bit more game ready, so that the time that I did take off, there wasn't as much as a seamless transition back into being game ready. So they gave me when the moment came, they gave me time. Like, I think they gave me a good 8 days to fly home and be a part of that, and make sure that mom got home and spend that first week, with Madeline as she just entered the world. So, but we were on a small island off of Okinawa. God, where were you in Miyazaki? I can't remember exactly which island. So I had to take a small flight from that island to Okinawa, catch another flight from Okinawa to Tokyo, and at the time, the international terminal was I had to take a 2-hour train ride from the regional airport to Narita, which would be easier now because Haneda does fly international. But at the time, I took a 2-hour train to Narita, and then caught my flight back home, landed in LA, had like a 5-hour layover there. And, in hindsight, I probably should have just drove it. Landed in LA, waited for that next flight, and then I hopped on that flight, got home. And by time I got home, I think it was 7:00 at night. I think from the first flight to Phoenix that day, it was probably at like 23-hour day at ready. So I got home, made a sandwich, took a shower, got to sleep real quick, and then once I think it was like in the middle of the night, it wasn't many hours later, a couple hours later, the hospital call said room's open, you guys come on in. And so we got into the hospital, got situated, and then that morning, just before 4:00 in the morning, Madeline was born. So I had like a couple hours sleep, and I didn't sleep the entire flight home. I was just ready to go, just riled up, and and so I don't know where I was mentally, off just water, coffee, and a couple snacks. Made good friends with the nurses over at the nurse station, because I was just hanging out at the coffee filter and just, hey, you guys gonna rebuild this? Like, you guys gonna fill this up? Like, I'm like
Let's
the only
go.
one in here right now, and like I'm just tapping you guys out, like, and so, but it really was, that's exactly how it went down. That, long story short, it was a long day for me, but I was able to get home, see the birth of Madeline, and then got mom home and was able to spend that first week with them before making sure okay, everything's good, we're all good. All right, well, I got to go back to work. Then hopped on a flight and met the team back up in Okinawa and got back to work.
One thing, and this is, we'll get to the Rangers in a second, but one thing that I didn't realize, and it's because really I don't think it was covered very heavily in the United States at the time, was the 2011 earthquake and the tsunami. And you were there, and your girlfriend was there, and I just remember how you stayed, but your goal was to get her out and get her to safety, and how you guys had to be evacuated. 18,000 people died in this thing, including Roki Sasaki's father, and just that's a heck of an experience. What was, you talk about the birth of a child. This is crazy and unexpected. You can't prepare for this one.
I mean, it was one of the largest natural disasters in modern history. And there was just, living in that moment, looking back, there was a lot of just, I don't know. People had questions, and the only answer was, I don't know. And you didn't really know what to expect. So, and like my agent at the time, Don Nomura, he was like, look, like, there's no need for you guys to get out right now. But if you do have family and, stuff here, let's just go ahead and get them on airplanes. Let's get them out of here in case something does happen, because if something does worsen, it'll be easier for us to manage you guys without the extra people around. And so that was the main driving force by getting her home. And like, even the guys on my team that had, the foreign guys were saying to their families, like, hey, we're getting you on airplanes as fast as we can. Let's just get you guys out just in case something does worsen. And then, less mouths to feed, less bodies to kind of corral, so to speak, if something does, ultimately get worse than it already is. So it was absolutely devastating, and going through that with the teammates and guys who had lost family members and friends and just didn't know where they were or how to even contact them or how to help. It's a helpless feeling when you see other guys that are you see your friends in your clubhouse being helpless. And so you're just like, well, and as a foreigner, you're like, well, I have no resources here. Like, what could I possibly do except for, lend a hand of moral support throughout the whole situation. So it was a crazy time to be alive, that's for sure. They're still reeling with the with the fallout from it in those areas and rebuilding. I mean, we're 14 years past it now, so it was a really sad thing to be a part of, and I don't know what else to say about it except for the fact that
it's just
one quick follow-up. Were you in the path, Tony? Were you and your girlfriend in the path of the storm?
No, I mean, we definitely felt the earthquake for sure. I was in Yokohama Stadium at the time. We were in a spring training exhibition. I was still starting at the time during spring training there before the transition to the bullpen. And so before the game, I got my work in through a bullpen, went in the clubhouse, got lift in. The game was just about starting. I was hopping in the shower to clean myself up a little bit before heading out to the dugout to just kind of watch the game. And that's when the entire stadium just, I mean, I can't even put into words the amount of shaking and how violent it was.
Wow.
To feel the walls just bending at you. And, there I am in a shower situation. So I'm vulnerable to begin with, trying to sneak out of that room without, slipping and falling. So got out of there, dried off as fast as I could. And my translator was there, like telling me to hey, you need to move now. And so I grabbed some clothes out of the nearest locker I, could, and just ran out into the middle of the field. And lucky for us as a team, the Yokohama Stadium was a disaster relief zone to begin with. And so everybody was ushered into the middle of the field. And from there, we were there for, I don't know how long, but multiple aftershocks had hit that were above 7.0. So, I mean, not just not the onset of the 9.1 or 9.2, whatever it was. I mean, in those next few hours, we faced multiple earthquakes that were 7.0, 7.5, and I think even another 8 hit at that point. And you're in the middle of the stadium and you see the buildings around, and you're in a giant metropolis area. And I mean, buildings are hitting each other. you're swaying back and forth and actually coming into contact with one another, and you see stuff falling off of them. And, so it really was an uncomfortable time to be in Japan. So no, we were not actually in like the tsunami area.
Yeah.
We were in a part of Tokyo, Yokohama, which is about a couple 100 miles south at the time. But even at the time, Hillary was just walking the streets. She wasn't at the game. She was just out in the middle of the streets just by herself. And, so she hurried her butt back to the apartment. And then I kind of relayed to the front desk area, like, hey, we're good, because I couldn't get a hold of her. So it was like, so when she came in, she knew that I was fine. Because when you turn on the TV, Yokohama's right by the water. And what she knew at the time was, okay, there's water coming inland, so on the onset of it, there was some fear there. But, after a little bit of watching and learning, knowing that we weren't in any immediate danger outside of possible earthquake rubble and stuff like that.
You mentioned Don Nomura helping you get out, and I'd met Don during the Yu Darvish thing. He wrote the foreword to your book, had a career over in Japan himself, helped Hideo Nomo. Was he your agent at the time when the Rangers reached out?
Yes, Don was my agent. I signed on with Don to get me to Japan, and then he stayed with me all the way throughout the rest of my career.
Who do you remember? Who was it? The scout with the Rangers? Was it Joe Furukawa? Was it Jim Colburn? How this deal got going to get you to the Rangers?
I know Joe. I've gotten to know Joe very well over the years. I don't know the rest of the supporting cast. Josh Boyd was a big part of it. But the international contingency, when it comes to international scouting, there's an entire group that works together to make the right decisions. So, I don't know exactly when it started, when the whole conversation started of like, hey, Tony's on our list. But there was one night at the stadium, I was receiving an award for like the previous month, and I was on the field, and somebody had approached Hillary at the game, and later he introduced himself as a Texas Ranger scout. She can't remember his name at the time. And he asked her, he was like, do you think Tony would do you think he wants to come back to the States? And she recounts a story. I think you see it in the book where she was like, kind of gives like that diplomatic answer. She was like, he's really happy here. I think he would like, check all, options when they come available. But like knowing deep in her heart, like, yeah, unequivocally yes, but like having the heads up, like to kind of give that diplomatic answer, not to sell the farm, right out the gate.
You didn't want to look desperate.
Yeah. One of the things we've learned,
like she kept the leverage alive.
Yeah. One of the things we've learned in this interview, Tony, is that you watch a lot of sports. So, are the Texas Rangers a part of what you're watching? Have you kept up with them at all?
I do keep up with Texas, obviously, with the World Series run and watching, Jose close it out. He was one of the last teammates of mine. Now you got Chris Martin hanging out back again, but like, it really is kind of neat to. I'm a Rangers fan now outside of the game. Now that I got no more skin in the game, I do root for the Rangers now. And in my line of work, I travel the AAA market and kind of watch them, so I'll get to see the AAA, guys and. Here and there. I just got off a trip. I was just up in Vegas watching Aviators and OKC, but it's just I do watch Texas. I do keep up with them, and I do continue to wish them the best in the AL West and always come out on top.
Yep.
Awesome.
Hey, Tony is coming to Texas. If you guys want to see him, he's going to be in the Alumni Alley, I believe, on June the 27th, a Friday night, and then on the 28th. The day that Elvis gets inducted into the Rangers Hall of Fame.
Nice.
Tony will be at the Sabre National Convention they have every year. It's in Dallas this year. It's over by the airport. And he'll be there with Aaron discussing baseball in Asia. So there are opportunities to see Tony this month. And I can't thank him enough for coming on today.
Oh, man. So great to see you, Tony. Thank you so much.
I really do appreciate you guys and giving me the platform to kind of spread the word about the book. Can't wait to be back in Arlington. I'm excited to get into the new stadium. Haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
You'll like it.
You'll love it. Yeah. Yeah. We'll look forward to seeing you then, Tony. Thanks so much for joining us. Fantastic fun talking to Tony Barnette as we learn all about his book and what an amazingly interesting history this guy has. Our cleanup segment's going to be a little shorter because we went over just a bit there, but we'll clean things up. It's coming next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. We are merched up.
We are repping today,
yeah,
baby.
because we didn't have to go. Hello, win column. New Ranger shirt coming. We've talked about that. I was just asking today when. They don't know. But it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth the wait. But in the meantime, you need some of this. You need the Hello Win column. That's a Ranger. Is that Rangers?
This is Mavs.
That's a Mavs shirt.
It sure is.
But anyway, we love all the merch, and it's so great that this is what we get to wear to work. I was walking across the street from the parking garage today going, I'm in shorts and a T-shirt and tennis shoes, and I'm going to work, which is just fantastic. So, even if you don't get to wear this to work, you can wear it around the house. You can wear it on the weekend. You can wear it when you're hanging out. And we love every bit of it. So go to store.allcitynetwork.com and get any of the shirts that are available for any of the teams in this area. We would appreciate you doing that. And I think you'll appreciate that you've done it too.
Yeah, and you get a free shirt when you become a diehard.
Yeah.
$79.99. Sorry if you guys missed the sale that we had late last week. But you know what? $79.99 is still a hell of a price. And you get the free shirt at store.allcitynetwork.com.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like $35. You're getting this shirt and the deal to be a diehard, which means you can read all of our copy. Not just my stories about the Rangers, but Stars, Cowboys, Mavericks, all with irons in the fire as we speak. And you'll get discounts to our events, 20% off if you're a diehard. That 20% off might come in handy on that trip that the Cowboys crew is taking to Las Vegas when they play the Raiders. So please avail yourself to our website, alldls.com/join.
All right, so let's clean things up. Let's start with the Royals are calling up their number one prospect, who's just a mountain of a man. This is a young man who played with Wyatt Langford at the University of Florida. And I didn't remember this. Jeff was saying he's a two-way guy. He could throw 100, but he's coming up through the Royals organization almost as quickly as Wyatt did through the Rangers, or not quite, but almost as quickly. He's about to be called up for tomorrow's game against the Cardinals, but he's coming up as a position player, not a pitcher.
Yeah, he's a big dude, first baseman. He can play some outfield, and really, he's just been murdering the ball. Some Frisco pitchers were the victim of his abilities. So
15 home runs.
Yeah.
15 home runs across two levels in 50 games so far for Jac Caglianone. And here is the announcement that he got yesterday, I believe, after the game.
How do you feel? Good. You feel a little tired because you've been doing a lot of stuff.
Like, not bad.
I mean, you've been doing outfield stuff, and you've been taking your ground balls,
The rest has
everything.
been working me, but it's been good.
So you think you feel like you're at the point where you could help, like, them up there? You think you could?
Yeah.
All right, well, then you can get on the charter tomorrow night and go with them to St. Louis.
Holy crap.
So what do you think?
That sounds great.
Just remember, it's still a game. It's baseball.
Yeah.
It's a little higher level, but you know you can play.
Yeah. Shoot, player.
All right, give me a hug.
Holy cow. I need to call my dad.
What did you think when I started talking to you?
I mean, I was like, damn, it's probably for hitting my knob against the stair. It's like,
I heard that.
I was like, damn.
I heard that.
But, oh, no way.
Go call your dad.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Let the fam know.
Congrats.
I don't think you're going to the zoo tomorrow.
Got it. Thank y'all. Oh, boy.
I like that. Go call your dad.
Yeah.
And I swear when he says, you think you can help them up there? I thought the kid's face was like, you mean the Angels? What am I, dying? You know, what's going on?
Well, the managers, I always struggle with his last name. I think it's Jershell, Mike Jershell, who's been in the organization forever. He was their old third base coach.
Yeah, that's right.
He was on the big league staff. So that's pretty cool that he got to do it. But yeah, that's a neat one.
I always
those are all neat.
Yeah, I do. I love those stories. We showed one earlier. I love those stories every time we see them, and he played it well. I mean, he's like, "You sure you're okay?" I mean, and the kid's like, "What? I'm fine." And he's a mountain of a man, but he looked like a little boy, didn't he, when he was sitting in that chair, just like, "Am I in trouble, Coach? What's going on?"
He thought he was. He hit his knob against the ground. Apparently,
yeah.
Wasn't very
not allowed to do that.
Yeah,
so love that story. How about LSU Shreveport? You know, which is, again, I mean, it's big. It's not as big as a UTA or, you know, UT San Antonio or that, but it's the Louisiana equivalent. LSU Shreveport is an NAIA institution.
Okay.
So fairly small. It's
Very
not even
small.
in the NCAA. NAIA is a smaller league that's equivalent at that size school to the NCAA. It's the governing body. And anyway, LSU Shreveport won the NAIA National Championship by going 59-0, Jeff.
That's not bad.
A baseball team went 59-0. Take that, Miami Dolphins. They went 59-0 in baseball. A perfect season. And when I was at Oakland University in Rochester, Michigan, we were NAIA.
Okay.
And we won lots of national championships at that level.
Okay.
And it's cool. I mean, it's a natty, as they say in the modern kids today, Jeff. They call
Big
it a natty.
They do. And
yeah.
I saw some of the scores. They were beating teams like 40-3.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
this
were
drilling team. So they need to move up.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, there's probably some kids on there. We should look into that too. There's probably some kids there we're going to hear about.
Yeah. Check the transfer portal; it's open. And gosh, guys are flying off leaving their rosters. We did have a couple questions. Apologize, I saw the 2 questions for Tony, but we were crunched on time, and I had a couple about Evan Carter. Rarities asked. He is going to be activated tomorrow. That's the plan, at least. I'm assuming everything went okay yesterday. So he's going to be back. He will be playing center field. You know, I didn't think that's a solution to the Adolis issue. You know, they don't like Osuna and Carter against lefties right now.
Right. That's
so
right.
there's an opportunity for Adolis to do that. Yeah. And, Sam Haggerty, baby. Let's not take Sam Haggerty out of the lineup. He's a little spark plug down there. Of course, he went to high school in Colorado. He's from Phoenix. So he and I have had the Colorado conversation. Very important that I have that with all Colorado players.
Of course.
But he just gets in there and works and mixes things up. He does a lot of things well. He can run, good defensive player, can handle the bat. I mean, that play yesterday, and I thought that was interesting that I haven't really mentioned it yet. I am writing something about the offense here today, but the play where he showed bunt and slashed.
Yeah.
That was designed. A scout had indicated that this is something the Cardinals like to do. When you show bunt in this situation, they run the wheel. So slash. All right, so he hits the ball. He hits it back to the pitcher. You're thinking, oh, gosh, double play. But nobody was covering any of the 3 bases.
Yep.
And so everybody was safe, and that kind of got the ball rolling. But that was, guys who can handle the bat, it's a lost art for me. Ron Washington always loved to hit and run. And so he always wanted a guy batting second who he could hit and run with. And, Elvis was that guy for a little while. He just loves guys that can, and that's what the Rangers have to do right now. They can't hit the ball out of the ballpark. They have to find ways to score. And to do little things like that, they come up really, really big.
They do, and slug is down, as we know, with this team. And obviously, you know, the power is off right now. So those things are fantastic. And, of course, on the Roku broadcast that we didn't talk enough about yesterday because they just messed that thing up amazingly at a critical point in the game.
Or Laura Stickles.
But that's what I said. And Chip Carey, who does the Cardinals broadcast, he was the play-by-play announcer. But the point I was going to make about their broadcast now is that Chip and Mike were just, you know, of course, walking down memory lane from so many games that they've seen that were formerly played that way, right?
Yeah, right.
Old school baseball on display big time at Globe Life Field yesterday.
Chip is a big guy.
Yeah.
He's tall.
Yeah.
Did you ever know Skip at all?
I've met Skip, but I don't really know him.
I remember getting Harry's autograph at a spring training one time. He didn't strike me as a large guy, but Chip's big.
No, Harry's a smaller man, yeah, and Chip is very big. So, but Harry, yeah, he was a wild one. I met him doing games when I was still covering the Tigers back in the day.
Yeah.
So
I remember Skip, who was very, very good in his own right with the Braves. I remember one time when the Braves were terrible and we were watching because that was our choice on cable, the Cubs or the Braves, and the Braves were getting hammered, and it was a long inning. And he said, I swear to God, he said, if you need to go out and walk the dog, now would be the time to do it. so he told people, just leave the broadcast. And but it was they're all good in their own way. I saw a couple of the Roku production people when we were sitting there waiting to hear from Chris Young yesterday, and just walking around with nothing to do. And I thought, I guess these big network producers and stuff, they know what they're doing. They don't when producers for us at that point, an hour before the game, man, they are just flying, a-holes and elbows. I mean, it's just getting work done. And these guys are just calmly walking around. I'm like, man, they're good at their job. And then all of a sudden the broadcast went off the air in the 7th inning when the Rangers, or maybe the 8th, when the Rangers were scoring 4 runs. So, that was not ideal. Not ideal. But, you're got to get used to these deals. There's the Apple TV deal. There's this one. I don't know if there are any others out there, but baseball trying to reach more fans, and with the broadcast issues that Rangers fans have experienced for a number of years, kind of makes sense to do it. But MLB, they like money.
They do, and the reality is because of the frustration that Rangers fans and others that were a part of the whole Bally situation have had, it makes things like yesterday even more frustrating, right? It's like I had 3-4 years of not being able to watch this team, and I finally can watch this team, and I don't have Roku. Or I finally can watch this team, and they're on Roku, and Prophet and I are sitting there watching 56 commercials in a row. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? It just really is.
And I didn't notice if our feed was missing or not, because I was actually watching the game. And the delay in the press box was like 2 pitches. It was maddening.
That's annoying too.
Yeah, very maddening.
That's very annoying. Yeah, and that was the other thing. We had 2 monitors going, and they kept. One would get ahead of the other one would get behind the other one. We got the Japanese monster movie voices, not matching the lips moving. So, it was a show. I mean, it was a heck of a show, but that is what it is. Like Jeff said, that's Major League Baseball trying to maximize profits. And, of course, no Rangers game today because they're off and they're hanging out in Florida, and no doubt not resting on their laurels.
We need to mention the rotation because Elijah did
that's
graphic.
right. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, there we go. Elijah worked so hard to get this done just before the break. So there you go. Kumar Rocker, if you hadn't heard, they wanted him to go one more rehab start. They can't allow that to happen because Nathan Eovaldi, as you heard yesterday, is on the injured list. So it's Malley and all his greatness, Rocker, as great as he's been at the minor league level in these rehab starts, and Jack Leiter coming off, Jeff, arguably his best start as a pro.
Yeah, and the interesting thing there for Rocker, his last start was at Sacramento in a minor league ballpark. And so he's going to start tomorrow in a minor league ballpark because the Rays are still playing their games in Steinbrenner Field or Legends Field, whatever they call it, there in Tampa. after the Trop sadly was destroyed by the hurricane.
Yeah. So there you go. That is the series that it begins tomorrow. We'll probably remind you of all that and utilize the great work of the Prophet again tomorrow as we do another show at 1 o'clock tomorrow. That one will be in advance of the 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays. We're back at 1 on Wednesday as well. And then I don't know what time we'll be on Thursday. It depends what time the game ends.
That's right. Late.
We'll be on late right after the game ends. So anyway, thanks for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed Tony Barnette as much as we did, and know that you have a chance to see him and maybe get him to sign said book at some point later on in the month of June.
It's really worth it. It's really, really good. It's just good. It's a good story, and you learn a lot about Tony, which I knew and didn't know, and then a lot about baseball in Japan. It's totally worth your time.
Awesome. That was fun. We'll see you again tomorrow, 1 o'clock, another edition, DLLS Rangers Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.